I kind of knew it was going to be really big, and I think Rob did too, and various people knew, so we just copied Rob, basically. That was our strategy. And Rob, bless him, I think my children thought at that time that he was like a complete hero, and I just was in love with him or something, because I just said, well, let's do what Rob says. So basically, Rob at that point had a sheet of paper, a little A4 sheet of paper that said 10 steps or something like that. So I just read the paper and did what Rob said. And so the 10 steps at that point, the first one was raise awareness. And so we decided to put on a programme. I don't know if it's up here. It's called Energy Descent Comes to Lewes. And we had...
Couldn't find it.
Oh, okay. Well, we had Caroline Lucas, Jeremy Leggett, who's a great dynamic speaker about energy, and we had 2 films, The Power of Community and The End of Suburbia. And so we showed them every 2 or 3 weeks, I think, over a period, with a deliberate intention of getting people engaged. And we took lots of email addresses, and we had post-it notes. Every time we had an event, we had post-it notes that said what... around the corner. Yeah, there's some great photos around there anyway. You know, one thing I want for Lewes, one thing I want for England, one thing I want for the government. And so it's kind of just building up this sense of desire and excitement and can-do, really, which is what the whole sort of transition was designed to do at the beginning. And so at the end of that period, we had the official unleashing, which was like, it was designed to be the thing that everybody would remember and would tell their grandchildren that they were at. And Mike was there, weren't you, Mike? Yeah. Mike was there, sort of going like this alongside me, Wendy and Forest Row, sort of getting really scared and really excited and knowing that this was going to go big. And Mike, you know, Mike's been taking photos all the way and supporting me and cheering me on. And not to mention all the other people I love. So what happened then? We had the official unleashing, which was really a fantastic event of about 400 people at the town hall. The mayor was there, but also the town councillors were there because they'd just come in after a meeting. And we had just a great party, music, drinking. We had lots of other groups joining in, showing what they had been doing as well. And then at the end of that, we had a poster that said, who wants to join a group? Who wants to help get this going? And at the end of the evening, and it is on one of those things somewhere, at the end of the evening, we had about 10 people who signed up. We had someone who wanted to deal with energy, someone who wanted to deal with water, we had a midwife, we had all sorts of people. And so at that time, the main people involved were John Webber, who was the chair, Andy Mindell, Chloe Anthony, and John Jiffer, and also, forgive me if I forget, I don't think any of them are here today, I'm afraid. Ian, that's it, yeah. So we sort of pulled this off, and then what Rob had told us to do was to design our demise. So at that point, we were meant to be just disappearing, which I think is a really practical thing to do, because we just wanted to avoid any kind of hierarchies and cliques. So that's what we actually set about doing at that point. We had some fantastic facilitators involved. We had Zoe, Pete, Christina, and somebody else. Anyone remember? Anyway, can you remember? Esmo, yes, that's right. They were sort of professional facilitators who helped us design our principles, our aims and principles. And because Transition Town Lewes isn't a hierarchical organisation, we set out to design a networked organisation that would not be dependent on any one person or any one group, but to hang completely on our aims and principles. So this is a really important document, which was written very early on, and hasn't really needed to have much redesign apart from something about finances. So, I mean, at the time, our aims were to raise awareness in the Lewes area about climate change and peak oil, to provide a framework for effective response to climate change and peak oil, to work with groups already engaged in these issues, and to empower people in the Lewes area about these things. And then the idea was that we would do this because we could create a better world with less resources that was more resilient and more abundant and more pleasurable. So that was our plan, and I think we kind of carried on with that all along. So at that point, groups did form in their different groups, and we had a meeting at Pelham House with about 10 people who were up for forming a group, and based on these principles, those groups then went off and started to do their stuff. Early on we had an amazing bag that was created by Abby that had on one side, can anyone remember Love Lewes Shop Local or something like that? And on the other side it had logos of a lot of the local shops, and that sort of was our first practical action, because the transition is all about practical manifestations of, of the reality that we want, of the parallel public infrastructure that some of us call it. So that's really turned into what all happened here. And I was in the communications group mainly, although I helped start the Lewes Town as well. And in the communications group, we did a number of things. We had some really good programs that happened every few months. We put on events, talks, and practical workshops. And that continued to go on until Jenny then took over as the newsletter editor and the website person. And we also put on some amazing talks. And we had Richard Heimberg talking about what will we do when the food runs out. In fact, he also spoke to a group of about 20 local farmers about food resilience. This is quite early on. We had Molly Scott Cato talking about money, and this was actually really before money was on the big horizon. In, what was that, 2008. So we were kind of ahead of the game, really. We put on a great film show about money as well. We had, who else? We had Tony Juniper, we had all sorts of other people. Aubrey Meyer was an amazing speaker talking about tradable energy quotas. And we also had some wonderful workshops called Open Space. I don't know if you know about Open Space, that it's a community think tank where you just start with a blank piece of paper, and within half an hour, you then have a layout of what you want to do that day, of everybody pitching in their ideas, their things that inspire them, and by the end you have this incredible sort of documentation of where you want to go with whatever it is. So we had an open space first of all on food at the big place down on North Street, which was very well attended. Then we had one on energy, which then actually turned into a VESCO. So the energy group decided at the open space 4 years ago that they were going to start an energy group, and that they had a big vision, and they've really gone for it. We had several open spaces, and we also had some world cafes, including what do we want to eat when the supermarkets run out, something like that, and lots and lots of films as well. We've had Susan Murray and I have been putting on about 30 or 40 films so far. And then the communications group then amalgamated into the steering group, which is the monthly group of all of these groups that meets once a month. All of the different groups and projects meet together to talk about how they're doing, what they're doing, where they're going, and any problems. So I don't know if it's possible if you can see this, but I'll just talk through some of the really important things that we've done. How am I doing for time? If I just run through this. Yeah? Okay. Okay, so as I said, there was the bag, which was amazing. There was the VESCO's energy project, which has gone from strength to strength. It started off with a sort of draft-proofing advice and giving grants to people for, what were the grants for? Insulation?
Efficiency.
Energy efficiency, that's it. So, and then that went on to create well, actually, basically, you're going to hear about all this. But I mean, it's just so amazing to see it here in one sheet, just from a little tiny seed of an idea. You've got this fantastic, amazing manifestation of reality, of a new reality that we've all created together. And it's just really a testament to the power of enthusiasm and vision and sort of spirit of can-do that we can create in the times that we're living in. So thank you very much.